welcome, Cynthia here. Today I'm going to do a Project Life spread using the last of my Kitaholic kits for the month of May. Is what I'm going to say. Yes, it's the May kit. So I'm going through the photos here and just sorting out to see what I want to go where. I don't have many papers left that I can do a full 6x4 or 3x4, so I cut out a few there on the side and then I try to figure out how I can make them work. But in the end I actually go into my stash and pull out a white cardstock and cut that up, and then I just use these pattern papers here to sort of put some layers on the white cardstock. There you go, so I have my white cardstock. So I'm just showing you the one that I'm using, the papers that I'm using. Hopefully you can read that because I can't from here. And I just show you the other one here as well. I could tell the first one was that's a Dear Lizzie, lovely day, but I actually can't see the name of it. So I fussy cut out this flower here. That's the last of the flowers from this page. I think I pretty much fussy cut all the flowers that was on that page or on that paper and have used them on other spread. It was gorgeous. Big florals. I really enjoyed it. So this photo here is of a friend of mine when we went to Melbourne to see Adele in concert. On the Monday, she shouted me to a manicure and pedicure for my birthday, and this was her sitting in the seat beside me getting her toes done. It was lovely. So I've just laid that up. I'm going to tuck those leaves in under that edge just to fill in that little gap down there, and that looks quite nice, I think. Tuck it in there, then I trim off the excess that's just hanging over the page. So that was a lovely experience, getting my toes and nails done. I think we can all agree that a little bit of pampering is just a wonderful thing, and it just happened to be my birthday on this day, so perfect excuse. So I've just pulled out a couple of bits of ephemera here. The top one is from the cut apart sheet and it says an amazing day, and it was meant to fly out coming back from Melbourne on this day, and I think our plane ended up being delayed for about 6 hours. So that basically meant 6 more hours of shopping for us, which was quite good. Apart from the fact, as I said, we've got our toes and nails done. And then going back to that one that I've just set aside, the other little piece of tiny words, I guess you'd call him, is a cut apart of the branding strip of one of the papers. And it says, "Fine little day." So move on to this photo here, going through the ephemera pieces to see what I could layer up. And I pull out that big camera. That's from the Chamel ephemera pack that come in this month's kit. And seeing what else I can use. I pull out that key, but I know I don't use keys. I really struggle to use keys. Just don't seem to have the right shape for me. Going through and pulling out some other bits and pieces on that photo of once again, or of us, I should say, that photo of myself and my husband. I've pulled out a little cut apart which says just us, and once again a word strip that's come off the branding strip of the paper, and it says just love. So coming back to this photo here, this is a photo of my husband was walking along the beach one day, and there was this rock that was sticking up, and it just had the perfect hole in it, so of course had to snap a shot. So I just backed a couple of the papers behind it. And the same with this layout. This is a little collage of 3 photos. So this particular weekend, Edward had a mate to come and stay over and sleep on the boat with us. And so there's just a couple of photos of them here, swimming off the back of the boat and then lighting fires and doing things that boys do. So I pull out this, I had initially had that cool wood chip, not wood chip, what do you call them? Wood veneer, but I swapped that out for the rad. And that fire, that campfire, is a very old piece of ephemera for my kit. Couldn't even tell you who was the maker now, or from my stash I should say. Wasn't too sure what else I was going to put on this page. It felt a little bit blank. So I go through and cut up this branding strip as well and just lay some layers. I initially thought I'd just do some behind the word red, but in the end I used the whole lot up, laying it down the side. And I know I tend to put a little bit of journaling on this card, so I want to leave a bit of room to be able to write a few things. So I cut that up, tuck it under, and thought, well, I might as well use that piece up too. There we go, all done. So I set that campfire back down, and I'm going to overlap it up onto the word rad, so I'll put a little pop dot behind the back of that, just so it sits up on top nicely. I really struggled with this layout. I think maybe because I was just down to the last of the paper, so I went backwards and forwards between the cards a fair bit, and I generally do that when I'm struggling. I'll work on one card, and then when I can't decide what I want to do, I'll work on another card, then I'll come back, and backwards and forth I go until ultimately I get it all done. So I've stuck that down. Now I move on to this card. I stick this word strip down. Ultimately stick it up there in a bit of an angle off the bottom, but you will see towards the end of this spread that I pull that up and put another piece of ephemera behind it. I just didn't quite like that space on the bottom. So going through and having a look at the 4 that I've worked on mainly now, and seeing what else I can do. And I think I might move on to the title card, I think. Yes, I do. So I start on that. Not too sure how much I do on this before I put that aside as well. I decided to fussy cut out some of these little, what would you call those, branches, foliage, the last of that floral paper. I will use those throughout this spread. So I put that blue diamond pattern paper down, and then just grab this little bit of pink. I loved that pink paper. It was it was a gradual pink, and it was just a beautiful piece of paper, and I think that's pretty much the last of it. And then I cut out this little strip here that says a little fine day again, or not that piece up there, that just says hooray. It's random, actually. It says hooray, it's today. Well, what other day was it going to be if it's not today? Anyway, didn't particularly read that well when I put it down. That is a very random thing to say. Hooray, it's today. You would say hooray for today. But anyway, hooray, it's Saturday. That's what it says. So now I'm obviously switching back to these other cards, and that's going through the ephemera bits and pieces here, seeing what I can pull out, what I might be able to use. So when I get my kit in each month, I put all the kit embellishments in one little tray, and then I go through my stash and I pull out some bits and pieces I think might work with this kit, and I try to put it in another little dish. Must admit, by the end of the month it all gets mixed up. And I do the same with my papers as well. At the beginning of the month, when I first get the kit, I have a look at the kit, and then I go into my stash and pull out another 2 or 3 bits of paper, just to add to the stash as well, just to the kit, so I can use my stash up. And as I only ever get the main kit from the kit club, it helps just bulk it out a little bit and gives me a little bit more to play with. So it's a little bit of a win-win for me. I get some new product each month to play with, but I also slowly but surely work away through my stash. So as I said, I switch between cards a fair bit here, just trying to see what I can do. I'll put this film, is that what you call it? Not film strip, but yeah, film thingy-me-jibby, whatever those round things are called. I'll put that up there because that's a picture of my son and a different mate. He come over and had a sleepover one night as well, and this is them laying on the couch, one of them up one end and the other down the other end, and they're watching Operation Ouch, I believe. Here's this additional piece of ephemera that I spoke about earlier. So I've used the bottom of that film disc and just put that in there and move that other word strip down a little bit, which I like that a little bit more. Still very very blue, and that's why I put that little pink rabbit there, just to give it a little bit of a different colour. Now going to work on the title card, and I jumped through a little bit here, and I've put the word March down. As this is going into the 2017 album, and it's obviously March. Tuck a few of those little leaves, foliage in under there, and you can see I just put a little daub of hot glue on the end there, and I just lightly touch that to the page, and that will give it some dimension on that end so it doesn't sit flat on the page. Add that little wood chevron, and I think that card is pretty much done. I think I do come back right at the last minute. I'm not too sure whether you see me do it on camera or whether I do it when the camera finishes. I come back in and put a little yellow flower and an enamel dot on that card, and that's all I do to the title card. So going back to this card of my husband, I pack up here because it wasn't coming together for me. So I've put out a stamp. Sorry for all the jumping around. I hope you're following okay. I really did flip between one photo and the next. And I just stamped snapshot on that photo, and I intend to do a bit of journaling on that disc. Finding it's all a little bit blue though, so I cut out another little rabbit's head and just stick that up there in the corner. And I also later, coming in, I cut out some tiny little yellow floral pieces from that paper, and tuck those in on both sides of the disc as well, just to give it a different colour as well. cutting out the last of the little rabbits, and I put this one on the photo of Edward and another one of his friends. They went to mini golf, and here there's just a shot of them at mini golf. This little round, the little round die cut says real life, and that was just from the cut apart sheet. Oh, and we've come to the end of it. So I hopefully you enjoyed that. Thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy it, please give me a thumbs up, and hopefully you'll come back next time. Thanks very much. Bye.